Am I live? Am I live right now? I think I'm live. I want to say I'm live. If you guys are here, could you please confirm to me that I'm live? There is absolutely no one watching right now. I love this. One person popped up. All right, let me go ahead and do this thing right here where I do for every single video. Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Things are so bad that I have to make the live stream. End of day live stream. How bad is it? What the heck is going on? Does anybody know what the heck is going on? Should you be should you be scared? Hi, Kurt. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Jay Gonzalez. I don't have much else to say except that I just want to go through a few major charts here. First of all, I there are a lot of confluence here that I want to go through. I'm gonna just start through real quick on like the greater market. I'm gonna go through the individual stocks I'm seeing. I do have a lot to say. Um, as the market is ending right now today, Palantir is getting absolutely destroyed. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we're going to start with SPY because we always start in the market. If you're basically looking at the monthly chart here, you can see how whenever price get away a little too far away from the Tenkan line, the blue line over here. This is the Ichimoku cloud. This is a monthly chart here. You can see how whenever we get a little bit too far, too fast away from the blue line over here, where you just sometimes just kind of come back and tap it a little bit. You know, like what happened back in that August 5th yen carry trade scare that nobody cares about anymore. Just kind of come back and tap it, right? And whenever you sometimes go a little bit too far, too fast, like this is a little bit anomaly here during the COVID stimulus craziness. But usually have a way to kind of come and tap it. Here's a perfect example where if it gets a little bit too far, you kind of correct sideways, kind of get a little bit closer to the blue line here before going up further, right? That's a pretty sustainable bull market here during the entire time from like 2012, 2011, all the way to 2015. Very, very sustainable, right? Tap, go higher, get closer, go higher. Right now, what are we at right now? I think we're just kind of going sideways here for a very long time because we got a little bit too far away from the tank, and I think we're just simply waiting to kind of get a little bit closer to it. Does it have to tap it? Not necessarily. QQQ got really close to tapping it though. It got really close to it. Again, if you look at a previous cycle, even look at the previous bull market here, whenever it gets a little bit too far, too fast, you come back and get very close to it, right? Before further bullish continuation until it breaks down, back test fails, and you have like a bear market. Are we having a bear market right now? No, not necessarily. Same thing during this bull market, taps it before going up higher. Same thing during this bull market, taps it before going up higher. Sometimes it gets really close and not tapping it. It just ends up keep going up higher, right? So am I seeing anything like necessarily a big warning sign this bear market, like this bull run is over, this whole recession thing is coming? I don't really see it here in the chart, even though the sentiment is extremely horrible. The other thing I also look at too is something called look at a spread, QQQ over SPY. This is a pretty important thing to look at because you generally want to have QQQ outperform an SPY during a bull market. You generally want that to happen during a bull market. If it's a bear market, generally SPY actually probably has a little bit more stability than QQQ or SP 500 actually has a little bit more how do you say it, stability and more strength than the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's a little bit more risk on, right? If you're looking at the whole thing right here with the spread of QQ over SPY, you can see how this is all a little bit of like a reaccumulation type pattern. I mean, technically, inverted head and shoulder is more like a reversal pattern. You can say that. Some people say that, but I think that this is like a inverted head and shoulder. If anything, this is like a big giant cup, and this is like a big giant hand over here. Looks like QQ wants to outperform SPY, unless if this thing breaks down, right? We're at a very, very important juncture here. Right now, we are a little bit underneath the 20-month moving average. Wondering what's going to happen. A big move is coming, by the way. So either SPY is going to end up outperforming QQQ, this thing's just going to plummet, and the entire bear market is going to happen, or QQQ is going to continue to outperform SPY, and you're going to have a renewed bull market. What's going to happen? We don't know. A big, big place is happening right now. So if you're asking me whether or not recession scares and no rebound, all that stuff, Japanese unrewinding, all that stuff, does it mean that like a strong bear market is coming, or does it mean that a strong bull market is going to end up continuing? I'm going to, try to show you a little bit more evidence in terms of what I think. Obviously, I'm leaning bullish. There are a lot of reasons for me to lean bullish, and I think that this is still going to end up pushing out, because you see these kind of things happen all the time, right? Even around like the 2015, 2016 scared, you think that the SPY, is going to outperform QQQ and bear market is going to start. Now it's just end up keep on pushing a lot higher, right? I think right now this might just end up being like a little bit of a wick into the 20-month moving average. Anyway, enough talking about the spread. Let's talk about the IWM. What's going on with IWM? If you are a member of my channel, you know that I love to use the Bollinger Band. Even if you're not a member of my channel, I love using a Bollinger Band. I love using a Bollinger Band in the context of trying to find different patterns. One pattern that I consistently find in a lot of different stocks in crypto, in charts in general, is if you have stocks that or crypto or indexes, doesn't matter. This is the IWM, so it's the Russell 2000 ETF index, right? So a lot of the smaller cap stocks that are more debt driven, that are more riskier, if you will, are going to be in the Russell 2000. All Russell 2000 is really doing right now is it hit the low Bollinger Band here twice, by the way, 3 times, by the way, 1, 2, 3. Decided to bounce up and ride up on the upper Bollinger Band here for a while. Couldn't really get too far too fast because Bollinger Band is not really expanding that much, right? You don't really have quite the volatility to really expand the Bollinger Band quite just yet. You need some volatility to come and set in so you can really truly expand it. Whenever you have a low Bollinger Band touch, upper Bollinger Band touch, and you go back to the 20, if the 20-month moving average, if you survive the 20-month moving average, generally this is how like really, really strong bull market starts. If you end up pushing for the low Bollinger Band, upper Bollinger Band, 20-month moving average, that's when like a very, very powerful move usually happens. I'm going to show you some examples here. I can show that a little bit more on like the weekly. On the weekly SPY, I guess you can say that you have the combo here, right? During the great COVID scare, low Bollinger Band, upper Bollinger Band bounced 20 and it just ran up for a very long time, right? These things happen over and over again. Low Bollinger Band got close to upper Bollinger Band here, when the 20 went up for a very long time. These things are generally how like bull market starts. The lower Bollinger Band, upper Bollinger Band, 20 went up for a very long time. I see the very, very similar thing happening with IWM, where I think that's what's going to happen here on higher time frame, if I will, that this combo here could turn out to be extremely, extremely bullish. The other thing is also perfectly touching the kitchen. None of these are coincidence. These things are getting back to a very important support, right? Touching the kitchen over here. It's one of those things that the only lot time during a bull market where it comes back and touches the kitchen and goes a lot higher. I guess this over here, right, came back to the cloud, back tested, tested the kitchen over here, and it just went up a lot higher. Same thing over here, back to the cloud, pushed through, touched the tank of the kitchen over here, and ran up for a lot higher, right? Right now, I think we're just doing a little bit more of a systematic, stepwise approach to kind of move our way up higher. If you consider this really is more just like one big giant move up. We really haven't had like a higher low per se. This is really the first higher low that we have. I'm going to move that way. You see what I'm saying, right? This is really like just one big giant move up on the channel. We really haven't had a higher low. This is the first higher low that we're getting compared to that. And in the last, if you look at SPY, what happened after you have a higher low like that compared to the bottom, right? What happened when you have a higher low like that compared to the bottom? For SPY, you didn't really have any higher low here. This is just a channeling up, right? This is the higher low, and next thing you know, it just pushed a lot higher. IWM, I think, is trying to find the same thing. It's trying to build up a higher low here on declining volume. On top of that, let's just look at the SPY. Let's look at the SPY, look at weekly here, look at the Bollinger Band. What's SPY doing right now? SPY challenged the lower Bollinger Band. Whenever things start challenging the lower Bollinger Band, I feel pretty good about that. When was the last time SPY on a bull market challenged the lower Bollinger Band? Back in October 2023. Did we end up scaring everybody? Like everybody thought we were just jumping off the cliff right here, right? Not lower Bollinger Band went up a lot higher. Lower Bollinger Band, we're touching it right now. Does it mean that things are just going to keep going down a lot lower? Well, it depends on what it looks like on a higher time frame. Higher time frame still looks like a bull market, right? It's still holding a tank in the kitchen over here. It's still above the 20-month moving average. Right now is a necessary cool down that generally happens during bull market, right? Is there anything unusual over here compared to, let's say, the sideways move over here, the sideways move over here, the sideways move over here, the sideways move over here? Not necessarily. It feels extremely bearish, and that's what the market makers really want you to feel. It feels extremely bearish because things are going sideways for about 5 months, and things have gone side and things have just gone plummeted down straight nonstop for about 3 weeks, right? That it feels extremely bearish, but is it actually that bearish? No, not really. Look at the QQQ. What did it do? Touch the low Bollinger Band here perfectly. Perfectly, right? What did IWM do? Went through the low Bollinger Band. Like the further you get away from the low Bollinger Band, the better risk reward ratio you get. Although of course it's expanding, so it can keep going down a lot lower, sure, but it's the higher time frame supporting that, right? Higher time frame, closer to 20-month moving average, testing a support. Higher time frame, testing the Kijun, right? So it's the higher time frame supporting that these is where things are just going to keep plummeting down, not necessarily, right? So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about a necessary correction where things are really, really overstretched to the downside here and that we're going to bounce soon? Or are we talking about a bear market starting? I don't know if I can really be that convinced that a bear market is starting. ARK Fund, what did it do? It basically bounced all the zero point 0.5 here perfectly, right? Basically bounced off the Ichimoku cloud here perfectly, right? After forming higher highs and higher lows. It really hasn't had a higher low for close to about a whole year. Right now, we're finally getting some pretty important resistance here. We're finally coming back down and trying to find a higher low, trying to test support, right? We're finding support here right now. After you got rejected over the clock, came back to Tengen and Kijun over here perfectly, right? And what else are you seeing here on the ARK fund here? You're also seeing the 20-moving average is still serving as support, right? And did we have to come all the way down to like 48, 47 to backtest that zone? Not necessarily. But I think that right now things are leaning bullish. Higher highs, higher lows. Bollinger Band is still a little bit expanding. 20-moving average is still pointing up. If anything, everything is still getting rejected up here and coming back down and back to some very important support, right? That's what the market is doing. If ARKFIN is telling you that things are okay, I'm not that worried, honestly, because this is still a higher low, right? It's support, right? A lot of people were talking about, I'm going to show you a couple other things here too that's very important, right? DXY. What's going on with DXY? It plummeted down. The US dollar has plummeted all the way down, right? For the month of March, the market went down, US dollar went down. What the heck is going on? Well, it's either the market doesn't really care about the US dollar, or that something interesting is happening and that we're rebalancing, and that during this whole rebalancing time, there's extreme volatility has been happening. A lot of selling pressure is happening with a lot of stocks that have been market moving. And it's scaring a lot of people, but it's also backtesting some very important high time frame support. But if you're looking at what's behind the scene here, the US dollar has been going down, right? It's basically been breaking back into the Ichimoku cloud here. You got a evening star over here. Like, you knew that the US dollar was probably going to go down, right? You do have some support here. You wonder whether or not it's going to end up like just bouncing off of it. I actually think that this support my thesis that I think like a more powerful bull market is starting. Because if you look over here during the last 3 cycles that we have with the US dollar, and if you look at the US global liquidity, it did exactly the same thing, right? I think I talked a little bit about this on a video that nobody seemed to have watched, but I think it's better to put everything into context, right? SPYQQQ getting close to support, IWM at very, very good support. US dollars dropping. And it's happening coincidentally with, in general, what I would normally expect at this part of the cycle. Which part of the cycle are we at right now? We are the part of the cycle where global liquidity has broken out and back testing it, the previous resistance zone, right? And we might have increasing global liquidity coming up soon. We're at a point where we have a resistance zone over here where global liquidity has a hard time breaking out above, and we're back testing that. And after that, we have a very, very much of a pump and increase in global liquidity, right? We're at a point where we just broke above the resistance zone of global liquidity, push through it, back testing it, and we might be getting ready for money printing, right? So US dollar is responding to it appropriately because it's dropping, right? The Whenever you end up having this back test, that's usually the peak of US dollar. Whenever you have a back test like right there, that's usually the peak of the US dollar before it starts to drop, right? Whenever you have back tests like this, that's usually the peak of the US dollar before it's about to drop. I don't know why people are scared. Maybe I should be. I don't know. I just don't understand why based on like a lot of the things I'm looking at. I'm not that scared. I really am not. The financials are the window of economy, right? XLF, does it look bearish to you? No. It just keeps on forming higher highs and higher lows. You can say, "Oh, it's a bearish engulfing candle here. I'm so scared." I don't really buy into the notion. I actually think that bearish engulfing candle during a bull market doesn't mean anything. I see one right here. It didn't mean anything, right? In a bear market, heck yeah, right? But can a bear market start a bearish engulfing candle? Sure, it can. But overall, if you're just saying that this is a bear market, I think you were just guessing. I think you were just literally just guessing because it's been forming higher highs and higher lows. Another thing I also want to show is the VIX, right? Look at the VIX, put out the Ichimoku cloud here. It's finding resistance right at the Ichimoku cloud, right? Like I can't make this up. It was touching it earlier this week, and it got there, and then it came back down, and then so far on a Thursday scare, we went back up, but we really quite touched that again. We're at resistance for the VIX, right? That's another thing I think is important to kind of take into consideration. A lot of people worry about yields. A lot of people worry about the Fed. A lot of people are worried about policy mistakes by the Fed. They're not cutting fast enough. I don't generally listen to the Fed. I can talk about unemployment, housing crisis too. I can talk about. I can talk about all that. But the important thing is that the bond market is anticipating the Fed to cut. And during the entire time when the bond market is speculating the Fed's going to cut, because because the 10 years already dropped from like 4.8% to 4.3%, right? The 2 years had dropped from 4.4% to 4%. Yields are dropping, and these are actually more important than like the Fed's effective funds rate. This is really more important because these are reflective of market condition. These are reflective of what bond market is actually doing. These are actually reflective of what the actual market conditions are. And if you have a 2 year and 10 year dropping, you have financial easing. Like it doesn't really matter what the Fed does because if you look at the effective Fed's funds rate, it tells you absolutely nothing about the economy. It tells you nothing, right? Because the yields have already dropped for a lot sooner than just 6 months ago, right? Because if you look at the 10 year, it already has been dropping for like a year and a half, right? It's just been oscillating. The If you're talking about more like mortgage 30 year, it's been dropping too. It looks basically just like the 10 year, right? And it's been dropping for the last couple of months. You have some financial easing condition that are already happening. Oil is going down. It's been fitting my descending triangle here that I've drawn for a very long time very well. It looks like it wants to roll over. You have deflationary forces that are coming. I generally don't, really buy into all the recessionary scare and all that. Whew, that's a lot of crap that I have here. I do want to talk about your topic of unemployment, and that I don't really have a chart here ready for you, but it's chartable. Unemployment actually is probably better if I do unemployment rate because that's probably matter more. And I can chart this, and down here I can do the S&P 500 because why not? SPX might be a little bit better, right? Why not? If I can line these two together, if anything, first of all, just looking at the unemployment, it's dropping, right? Trend is your friend. It's dropping. Let's see. I have to change that to monthly here. Okay, these two are roughly being lined up here. I think I probably drew this before. Yeah, whenever you have a correction, actually, let me say. Yeah, whenever you have an unemployment rate that's really going up, that's usually when the stock market is already like recovering. When people are really starting to talk about like unemployment rate going up, that's when usually the market's already recovering. Whenever you have the unemployment rate, I mean, this is a little bit anomaly because this is during COVID, right? That's not fair or whatever. But like whenever you have an unemployment rate going up, generally like the economies are the stock market is already recovering, right? A lot of times because you anticipate to have the unemployment rate going up, and financial condition just eases drastically, very, very fast. So I don't really necessarily buy into the notion that like you have to worry about employment. First of all, the unemployment rate is trending down. Second of all, whenever you start talking about unemployment rate going up, that's generally when the market is already bottoming. Like I don't know what else to say about that. Okay, I'm done talking about unemployment right here. Let's talk about something else. Um, let's talk about something that is more important here. Copper, right? Copper has been forming higher highs and higher lows. You know why they call copper Dr. Copper? Because it really is more of a reflection in terms of how the overall economy is going, overall how economics, how you say that, health overall, right? It's been looking pretty healthy actually. Like if you just put the Ichimoku bounce off the Ichimoku cloud over here perfectly, it looks like it wants to continue to go up a lot higher. So the economic activity actually has been pretty stable. If you want to really talk about gold, I think gold is at a little bit of a resistance. Actually, no, I should say that gold is actually already looking like it's going to go up. Sorry, that was linear scale. I drew this on a log scale. I think gold is actually on its way going up, and I think that is reflective that I think financial conditions easing, and I think that there's liquidity pouring into gold. I think gold is going to go a lot higher because it broke away from the 1.618, broke away from the 1.414. It looks like it wants to kind of go up to the next arc. It's basically what I'm seeing here. Um, if gold is going up, you can say, oh, the people are hedging, but gold's a little bit of a weird thing. I can't really say it one way or another. I just think that it's on a bull trend. I think eventually gold tends to be a little bit of like an early cycle runner. Actually, last time when it ran up a lot higher to like to July, peaked in August 2020, and when gold dropped, that's when everything else starts to like just run like crazy. So we'll see. But it was a little bit of like an early bull market indicator. Let's talk about some of your favorite stocks here, shall we? Things that you're scared about. Palantir. You scared about Palantir? It's my biggest position. Should you be scared? Let's look at it. What's Palantir at right now? It's back to the angle here for a second time. Broke through 1.272 here, back tested 1.272. Ichimoku is stuck in a range between the Tenkin here and the Kijun. It's right at the confluence of support zone over here. It's not even like touching the broad support band down here yet. There's so many different levels of support over here that to me, I think that if I didn't have a position in Palantir, if I was bullish on it, I might buy. You might say the valuation is absolutely crazy, but I might say that the money printing that's going to happen might be absolutely crazy too. So I don't know what I'm not buying because I have too much Palantir already. So, but it's a confluence on the support, right? Tesla, where you have Tesla, I didn't even need to draw any lines or anything like that. It's right at the horizontal support zone. Like if you just look at it, it's right there for you. And if you look at what is happening too, whether or not there's any correlate between this cycle over here compared to last cycle, yeah, this like horizontal zone over here where it back tested, how dare I compare what's going on right now? How dare I compare what's going on right now to what happened during COVID? How dare I, right? A lot of economic uncertainty when things are just forming higher highs and higher lows. Backtesting a zone where it's been spending for years. Backtesting a zone where it's been spending for years. How dare I compare the current situation to COVID? How dare I? I don't know. Like this is this is sacrilegious. I should be banned on YouTube. Putting out the Bollinger Band here, I really do think that we have started a Bollinger Band expansion here during higher highs and higher lows. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin because I was buying a lot lower. I'm looking at like leverage plays. I'm actually buying like Mara. I'm buying Coin. I'm buying those kinds of things right now. Because I'm more bullish and I'm a stupid cat. If I hedge Mara with Coin, I hedge Coin with TQQs, and I sell double leverage. I sold double leverage SPY index called SSO. I sold some of them, and I bought a lot more like small cap stocks because I hedge one high risk stuff with another high risk high risk stuff. I hedge by having a day job. If that doesn't work out for me, I'll work for longer. But anyway. Um, I think that we're very, very similar spot over here as we're over here. We have a little bit of initial bullish band expansion that's happening here. And I think it's a higher low that is much necessary to cool down this big giant, tweezer top here, way above the upper Bollinger Band, kind of like how it did over here, right? We have a very, very similar look as we did over here during this big giant push up in February, where it just simply got way too far, way too fast, way outside the upper Bollinger Band. It just simply came back down to where it need to be. Things that have pushed from low Bollinger Band to upper Bollinger Band to the 20 is not bearish, right? Low Bollinger Band, upper Bollinger Band, 20 is not bearish. I bought more Tesla today. Can it go down lower to touch the 20 around high 240s, 250s? Yeah, it can. Do I care? Am I going to try to like penny pinch and try to time things exactly? Not really. Does it have to could potentially break down underneath this level, even go down a lot lower? Possible. Do I anticipate any of that stuff to happen? Not necessarily. I also think that it kind of broken down underneath the Tenkan Kishin here. Again, that doesn't really bother me because the same thing happened during COVID, right? It's not it's a correction that's I think is very much necessary to do. I don't think it's going to have to come back to the weekly cloud, but I mean obviously like 220 all that stuff is entirely possible. I'm not saying that it's not possible. Even to the monthly cloud, going back to 230s is entirely possible. Can it close all the way? Like I'm telling you, that's things that people are talking about that I also see. Does it have to come all the way back down to close this gap here on the daily completely with 250s? Possible. Does it have to? Not necessarily, right? I'm not going to try to penny pinch here. I think buying up here in 480 or 480 was a mistake. I did not do that. I think anybody did that. You're suffering from it right now. I started buying right around like 350s, 330, 300s, and then the 260s. I bought more again today, right? My average is still like in the low, like very much to the low 200s because I ended up buying during the entire process over here. I wasn't trying to time it perfect, right? It went down, buy, right? It went down a lot lower, try to buy more. It went up, try to buy. It's a range, right? A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's not going to break about 200." It broke about 200 like a while back, right? And that was just like 9 months ago. um, but as far as I'm concerned, I think right now we're at a pretty good buying zone for Tesla, assuming that I'm correct, assuming that this is a higher low instead of a lower low. Assuming this is higher low, I think this is a good buying area because I generally like to buy a few areas. I like to buy if this is wave 1, 2, and this is wave 3, like subwave of 1, subwave of 2. I like to buy wave 2 and try to like catch the falling knife of wave 2. I like to try the subwave 2 of 3 because wave 3 of 3 is going to be a lot more powerful. I like to try and catch these areas over here, and it might feel like a falling knife when you're buying it, but I don't care. I wouldn't buy like TSLL because it's just too much fluctuations for me to like stomach. Um, when it comes to Tesla, because I have a higher um, commitment to coin actually, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think it's not a bad spot to consider getting into. Nvidia, what's going on in Nvidia? Absolutely brutal, right? Did absolutely nothing for about like 9 months, 10 months. It's just absolutely crazy how like this looks like a rounded top right here. I did de-risk from Nvidia. I initially have like a double leverage semiconductor ETF called USD that is market weighted. A lot of it is Nvidia. I ended up de-risking that over the last few weeks or so. Um, but yeah, like what do you think about Nvidia? Well, Nvidia, if I've just put up the Ichimoku monthly here, it did kind of showing a lot of relative weakness, right? Break down underneath the Tenkan over here, as opposed to Palantir, where it's still holding the Tenkan, right? As opposed to Tesla, it did break down underneath of that too, but this is more like a beginning, kind of bull market look to it. Nvidia is a little bit different, right? Nvidia has broken above all this stuff and it's been going up for like 2 years nonstop, and now it's feeling a little bit exhausted. Now it's breaking underneath the Tenkan. Now I'm a little bit worried about Nvidia. Um, don't worry though for the greater market because I still think that this might just be a little bit of rotation. I think that even after market here, even the market is saying that Nvidia is being overpunished because if you look at the Bollinger Band, it is being overpunished right here. It's like way underneath the low Bollinger Band here. You do have a Matabasu candle, so let's hope Friday is a good day. Kind of track back up here a little bit. But yeah, it is underneath the low Bollinger Band here. So yeah, I did see weakness with Nvidia and I'm kind of scaling out of it. I do still have a lot of exposure through like index fund T-triple Qs and things like that, but I don't care. Those are separate. Um, I would not really want to like overweight Nvidia here at this point, but doesn't mean that it's not going to make another leg up higher. I think it's still going to do pretty well. I think it's simply just went way too far, way too fast, and got resisted at 2.272. Probably need to backtest some things here, grab some liquidity before going up higher if it's going to make a final exit liquidity grab, right? I still have potential target at 228 and 350, but I still think that the month is probably going to close above the arc. I still think this is just still rejection of 21272 and backtest the arc here before further bullish continuation for the last exhaustive look up, kind of like it did over here, right? After it backtest the arc here, it just went up to the next horizontal zone, right? It's possible, but I can't say that it's close to support. I can't say that because it's already ran up very, very hard. It could have yeah, it could kind of go sideways and things could rotate to like small caps and everything else can run hard because it did this exact same thing over here where from August 2020 to April 2021, that's when like everything else was running hot. Arc Fund was running hot. Nvidia did nothing, right? I don't know whether or not the same rotation is happening right now. But if you look at the overall index, yeah, you see like a little bit of relative weakness here on Microsoft here as well, right? Microsoft is holding the 1.236 fit level here, great, right? But it did kind of got rejected here at the arc here, and it did kind of break underneath the arc, right? You see how the arc here meant something previously, broke through the arc, backtest the arc, ran up a lot higher, right? Here was a little bit of resistance. Here, backtest, ran out to the next arc. Here, we kind of have a hard time breaking through this arc. So Microsoft's showing a lot of relative weakness here. Meta. I don't like this look either. There could be a little bit more room to kind of go down here, but I think that the lowest it goes probably the Tenkan here, and this is still a bull market. Whenever you have a bull market, things just ride the blue line up, right? Like it does that. We got a little bit way too far ahead, got rejected, went for 4 and 4, way above the Tenkan here, coming back down. It's not a bad thing. Here, same thing happened, right? Got closer to 1.236 here, a little bit too far, had to come back down through price correcting. That's kind of what I'm seeing is probably happening at Meta right now. I'm not scared of it. Amazon came back, touched the Tenkan here perfectly, got rejected at 1.272, came back down, touched the 10 here perfectly. It's not bearish. Google broke down underneath the 10 here a little bit, but it was way too far above. It simply had to come back and back test that. Apple also hit the 2.272 lock fit landmark. Come back down here. Tenkin's rising. Apple looks like it wants to keep going up higher, right? AVGO, what happened? It went way too hard, way too fast. Went to 3.618 fit level here. This cycle, this is just absolutely insane. Got rejected hard too. Came back down, the back testing horizontal zone over here. That's all it's doing. Broke down underneath the Tenkan here though, right? That's all it's really doing. Look at what happened after hours. Look at what happened after hours. It basically reclaimed the Tenkan right here. This is going to be a wick. These are all logical moves that these major stocks are making. SMCI is probably one that I'll probably end up staying away from, and I've been talking about this for a long time. It made way too hard of a move, and it simply had the 20-month moving average is exhausted. It flipped it from support here to resistance, and I do worry. I'm not going to get to SCM. I don't care how bullish it is. I'm probably going to stay away. But yeah, like how funny how it is, right? AVGO is going to end up closing. Is probably end up being back above the Tenkan here. Funny how that works, right? I can keep talking about stock after stock after stock. I just want to talk about like the majors to kind of give you an idea of what I think is happening. How can you be bearish on the market if China is doing well? How can you be bearish on the US market if China is doing well? Because eventually global liquidity is going to end up rotating from China to the US too, right? Right now it's rotating to China, sure, because things are hot and everybody's like hot, hot. Do I want to buy like all the Chinese stocks and just throw everything in because the overall market is doing so horribly in the US because crypto is doing nothing because everything is just so scary? Should you rotate everything from the US and go into China where it's hitting the 0.618 fit level resistance here almost perfectly today, right? When the US market stuff, they're all kind of hitting support, including IWM, including S&P 500, including NASDAQ, when Chinese stock is hitting this 0.618 bit resistance level. Would you want to do that? You can. I think we might be getting a little bit closer to a little bit of correction here in the Chinese stock market. Maybe not, because it just keeps running hot. And they just turn on the printer. Maybe it just keeps going through my target up here around 28,000 here for the Hang Seng Index. Maybe you do that, but we are at a resistance level. I just want to point that out. How interesting things are, right? At different markets and things like that. It's very, 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 very interesting. I am not bearish on the US market if the Chinese market looks bullish. The reason why that is because, and this goes into what happens to the Chinese market. Let me see here. Over the last like 20 years versus the US, right? Let's talk about it. They're not exactly lined up very well. I hate this. Here, try to line that up for me. Yeah, they're not going to be lined up exactly well, but I'm going to just have to. Okay, that's going to be as good as it gets. If Chinese market goes up, US market goes up, right? You see how the Chinese market going up here, the US market is up, right? Chinese market goes down, yeah, US market can go down, sure, right? But it can also go up. Generally, these two markets correlate very, very well, except the fact that the US has been outperforming the Chinese market, like, no doubt, right? The one thing too to point out is also, like, ever since 2018, you see how Chinese market has peaked right there, right? It went down, but during this period of time, the US market is still capable of going up, right? Chinese market goes up, US market goes up. Chinese market goes down, US market may go down. But over here, Chinese market goes down, US market goes up. I have yet to really see any major exception where the Chinese market goes up and the US market goes down. If you guys like, I looked at this chart for a very long time. For a very, very long time, I have yet to see an area where Chinese market goes up and the US market goes down, with the exception maybe of the last couple of months. With the exception maybe the last couple of months. Usually the Chinese market goes up, US market goes up. I would like to say, like, this time's probably not different. You are gonna have some examples where the US market is gonna end up lagging the Chinese market here a little bit. Um, I wanna say, like, maybe, like, around September, October 2020, right? You can see how, like, Chinese market is already kind of recovering over here, but US market continue to kind of make another red candle. But next thing you know, like, they eventually follow each other. So I have a hard time really being that bearish on the overall market if China is doing well. That's the kind of take home message here. I have a hard time being that bearish on the overall market if fintech stocks look very, very well, right? If fintech looks good, how can I be that bearish? How do I think fintech looks good? Well, because SoFi just touched the monthly tank in here perfectly. This is a great setup, right? This is actually a great setup. It's a little bit too far away from the 20. I don't think it's come all the way back down to 20, by the way. It's already finding support right there on the Tenkan, right? Affirm. The most economically sensitive stock of the market, arguably, is Affirm, right? They're not profitable. Their model is based on buy now, pay later. They are basically the reflection of how consumerism is doing, right? How the overall economy is doing. What is it doing right now? It went a little bit too far, too fast, and is cooling down right now, right? Where's it cooling down at? Right at the Tenkan. Right at the Tenkan. I'm not bearish on the market. Oh, what about Shopify as a Canadian company? We're having tariffs and things like that. Is way above the cloud. I'm totally expected to come down to, like, touch the cloud over here around the mid 90s. It's not even doing that. Like, when is it gonna do that? Maybe one day, maybe eventually. Everybody's gonna get all scared when it tries to form a higher low over here. But look at, like, this is a bullish stock. I don't anyway. Robinhood, are you scared about Robinhood? Because it dropped all the way from, like, 60s all the way down to the 40s? That's horrible, right? Well, it got way outside, way beyond above the Tenkan over here. What do you expect? You're gonna expect a correction getting close to it, right? Same thing happened here, right? We made a big giant move since then. I don't see anything being more economically sensitive than Robin. If anything, If you don't look at this big giant wick over here, this is the monthly close, right? We're basically back testing the monthly close from the IPO, right? All these things make sense, right? I think PayPal is bottoming. I think PayPal is touching the top of the Ichimoku cloud and it bounced from that pretty well, right? Look at Upstart. Nope. Does anybody know what Upstart does? Nobody, right? What is it doing? Well, it pushed way up like this, got way far ahead of itself, had to come back down to back test the Tenkan and the Kijun. It's doing exactly that. These are very economically sensitive stocks, right? Coinbase is doing the exact same thing, right? Big giant move up, back tested Tenkan Kitchen simply just wasn't ready to run yet, right? MSTR doing the exact same thing, right? Back testing the kitchen over here. Still have a big giant wick down here below, right? I mean, I don't know. Like I can talk about. I'm probably not going to talk about miners. I did end up buying more miners today because I mean, actually, I'll talk about them. Why not? I talk about miners, right? You want me to talk about miners? I'll talk about miners. What are they doing? They're overextended to the downside. They're getting closer to low bullish band. They all have a lot of like these kind of tweezer. This is CoinL, by the way. That's tweezer. Low bullish band. KeenSpark, upper bullish band, low bullish band. Tweezer, right? Very good bottom. Mara looks like a little bit outperforming here. You can feel that Mara is outperforming, forming a little bit of Morningstar look to it. Touch the low bullish band, right? Right. I'm going to skip Bitfarms because it's just going to make me sad. Cypher, what happened? A little bit too far overextended to the downside of low bullish band, right? But you're basically at the extremes conditions here. Iron, low bullish band. Wolf, low bullish band. Riot, extremes, right? Low bullish band. HUD 8 trying to touch the low bullish band. Cores, this is one of the stocks I actually I've never really been interested in cores. I was actually thinking cores have a lot of weakness up here too, but anyway, that's a different story. Um, BitDeer, BitDeer is actually showing some relative strength. I actually love the BitDeer chart, right? Higher high, higher low, right back into the 20-month moving average, bullish expansion, right? It's 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 a very very beautiful chart as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this. Basically, just back testing this breakout zone over here, right? You want me to talk about crypto? I talk about crypto, right? Trees are bottom, right? I got Bitcoin here. Bitcoin, I have a couple things here. I have a Gann chart here, testing an angle here perfectly, right? It did break down underneath the support band here. Is trying to hold it. It did break down, but it had to do what it had to do to come back and grab liquidity, right? That's what it's doing right now. Um, I can talk about a few things here with Bitcoin tier 2 on the monthly. There's a lot of same thing that's happening. Even back in February, ahead of a lot of these stocks, they're touching the tank in like March. Bitcoin already did that, right? It already did this correction. A lot of people got really super scared here about a bearish engulfing candle, but the bearish engulfing candle was on low volume. To me, low volume bearish engulfing candle doesn't matter. That's happening on Bitstamp, that's happening on Coinbase, that's happening on Binance. Low volume bearish engulfing candles. It's like somebody saying something nasty to your ear, but they say in low volume, you just didn't hear it. It doesn't matter, right? I don't know. I talked about Bitcoin a lot already. I feel like I'm just going to be a little bit more redundant. I still feel very very strongly that um, I think Bitcoin is just kind of cooling off. Is still kind of just starting its final like full bull trend. Because we broke above the arc here, and whenever we broke above an arc here, we end up cooling up here for like a few months after that. We back test the arc, broke through the arc, we cool down here before the next big move up. We push through the arc here, right? Back test the arc here, went sideways for several months before the next move up. I think we're at that point. The cycle is just a lot longer. I don't know what else to say, and it's getting a lot of people really freaked out. I'm still bullish on Ethereum because I still think that this look over here is very, very similar to this look over here. Um, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I can look at like the same global liquidity thing again. Ultimately, it depends on whether or not global liquidity is going up or not, right? It's going up. Trend's your friend. Higher highs and higher lows. So global liquidity is probably going to end up going up. What happened last time during the COVID situation? Well, it was happening right after this kind of mini backtest here of this global liquidity breakout. And that's when COVID, low was in, right? right now we're having a very, very similar kind of thing. It's right after the back test, we have a little bit of a low over here, right? This is a lower low, this is a lower low. I think this is very, very similar in terms of the fractal here that I'm seeing. So I actually am very, very positive about what Ethereum is going to do moving forward. Um, but that's just, my own, assessment. I still think that XRP is going to the moon. I still think XRP is going to $8. This volatility has not changed anything. Doge is still forming higher high and higher low. If anything, maybe it's waiting for the 20-month moving average. I don't know, but I don't care. It's still very much of a bullish thing. I've been buying. I stopped posting on X about buying Doge. You can just assume automatically, with this below 20 cents, I'm gonna try to do what I can to buy Doge. Is pushing through here, is back testing this breakthrough zone over here. This high over here is still holding. There's nothing really that scary about any of this. Solana has been just kind of going sideways here, unfortunately. But what Solana is really doing is really just basically backtesting 0.76 here, right? It's not doing anything unusual. It's just doing what it's supposed to be doing after it got rejected here at previous all-time high, couldn't hold a 0.86, come back down to form a higher low, right? I guess this is a low low over here compared to that. But if anything, this is still a higher low, right? Compared to this low over here on the monthly, right? So nothing has really broken. Chainlink's actually been doing okay. I'm going to turn off the GAN here. I'm going to show you the Ichimoku. Is have a hard time breaking about the monthly Ichimoku, but on the weekly, look at how nicely Chainlink is holding. You have two perfect wicks to the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, grabbing a lot of liquidity, forming a tweezer. I think Chainlink is going to end up doing very, very well, right? ADA, what did it do? Came back tested the cloud over here. Looks like it's getting ready to run. Already back tested Tech Kitchen here on the weekly. Looks like it's getting ready to run. Just have a hard time breaking above the Ichimoku cloud here on the monthly, but it's been spending a few months trying to do that. I think it's getting ready to run soon, right? I mean, I can keep talking. It doesn't make too much sense to be bearish right now as support, right? I'm going to try to look and see a lot of the questions that you have. I'm going to go back to a lot of the questions I missed earlier. One question is you asked about Robinhood. I looked at Robinhood. What to do when you are starting from scratch? I don't know. I think it's tough for me because I'm like up on a lot of unrealized gains from like my um, fintech positions, a lot of things from my like my teacher position, a lot of things up from my Palantir position. I'm trying to buy some Tesla because I feel I can build that position a little bit bigger. But it's hard for me to know like what you should buy. I like to diversify. Like a lot of things I talked about, like Coinbase, Tesla, Palantir, um, miners, Bitcoin miners, Robinhood, Shopify, SoFi, Affirm. Those are like my biggest position. I'm not really selling any of them. So if you think about it that way, if I'm not selling, technically, like I'm basically relocating funds that I have into those positions, right? So those are what I feel pretty confident about, and they're pretty high beta stocks too. So I completely expect like some crazy volatility with them. So those are what I generally talk about, and those are what I have money into. I can't really tell you what to buy. Do I plan to hold leverage market indexes forever? No. I plan to hold them through what I would expect to be to have increase in global liquidity that's happening now. I do not plan to hold like T triple Q. I have T triple Q position. I think my average is probably somewhere in like the 20s. I do not plan to hold that forever. I plan to um, hold it until whenever I'm really skeptical that global liquidity is going up, right? Right now, it just seems like it just everything just kind of lined up. Bitcoin lining up, IWM is lining up, ARK Fund is lining up, the indexes are lining up, VIX is lining up, US dollar is lining up, yields are lining up, oil is lining up. Like I don't know what else I can say about the macro. Like I don't know what else I can say about the macro. Um, I see this being like an equivalent zone as we were over here, where we kind of go sideways over here. We're maybe about to break out. I see we're in a very similar zone where we're closer to like the COVID area, where we're in an area where we might maybe potentially kind of breaking out. I see this as like a cool down here on T triple Qs. So I'm gonna keep my keep T triple Q position. I'm not adding to it. But I'm going to keep it because I still think that it's going to keep on probably running up for a while. The only other leverage position I have, I do have like an SSO position, but I've actually been leaving my SSO position. I probably shouldn't because it's right at support at the Tenkan. I probably shouldn't, but I'm buying small caps with it. Because I want to increase my leverage, basically, right? So I actually don't think that is a bad thing to enter right now. Again, especially if global equity just did its back test, and so did this double leverage SPY index here, also just doing its back test. Maybe just lagging here by a few months. I'm comfortable like adding to it if I could, but I just want more like small cap leverage stuff because I think a lot of small caps are looking really, 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 really good. And if you're a member to my channel, I talk a lot about those small cap plays that I've been adding to. I'm not going to kind of go through them. I did make a post on what I added today on X. So whatever you guys want to do, that's fine. But I do not mind holding these kind of double leverage play during a bull cycle, even if the volatility is crazy. You have to stomach the volatility. If you cannot stomach the T/Q volatility from like $47 to like $30 is just literally just go up like 35-40%. You cannot stomach that you don't deserve these gains, right? It's these kind of things like where Nasdaq drops like 40% is and T/Q drops like 80%, 90% is very unusual. But you have DK and if it does nothing and just chop sideways over here, T/Q is going to do extremely, extremely bad. So if I'm thinking the global equity is going to go up, you want that my leverage, I'm going to stay in. That's my rationale. I'm going to answer a couple other questions here. Yeah, Vivian, Futu, and TIGR are pretty good plays. Happy to be in them early. Somebody asked the questions about if market would crash, how would that start? It usually starts by breaking down underneath the Tenkan Nikijin, back testing it, and fail, right? Usually starts by and it's hard to do a 20-month moving average because by the time it starts, it's already like too late, But it could break down underneath the 20 and back test it and fail. I think SPY is probably not a very good example for that, I think the first thing that you would watch out for is probably breaking down underneath the Tenkan over here and back testing it and fail to break back out. But a lot of times, like this is a true black swan, right? Because it just ends up just pushing all the way down like that to the cloud. But look at the great financial crisis, right? What happened? Break down underneath the Tenkan Nikijin, back test, fail, plummeted down, right? Look at the dot-com bubble. What happened? Break down underneath the Tenkan Nikijin, back test that, failed, and plummeted down, right? What happened in 2021? Same thing. Broke down the Tenkan here, back test, failed, broke down. We don't have that confirmation. Things can ride the Tenkan up along for a very long time. You can have a bearish divergence that can happen for a very long time on the indexes. You can literally go up for years on bearish divergence. You can literally go up for years on bearish divergence. You just keep on going up, 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 up. You can literally go up for years on bearish divergence, right? So you can literally go up for years on bearish divergence. So that's not going to be a topping signal, right? On top of that, if you're into the whole like trend line thing, I guess, yeah, SPY is not a good one because it takes into account like dividends and things like that. But you look at SPX. Actually, you know what? I think I see something here on an SPX that I wasn't looking at before. Pretty good market symmetry here on the ARC, right? ARC, back test the ARC here perfectly, back test the ARC here perfectly, broke through the ARC here, back test the ARC here twice, right? Broke through the ARC, back test the ARC. What did we just do here on the SPX? What did we just do here on SPX? Essentially, as far as I'm concerned, we back tested already. We broke through an ARC, we back tested already. So, all right, guys, hymns. I'm gonna do this last one. I gotta. Well, I guess I can do SUI. I can never pronounce that correctly. I'll do that, and I'll do hymns, and I'm gonna go. Okay. This one I'll do the crypto thing here. If I look at the weekly, which is what I think I drew this whole thing right here, 180 and 0.2. I think it's doing the necessary back test of the 0.13, 1.236 fit level over here. It's also back tested. If I just get rid of this level over here, it's back tested angle here perfectly, right? 45-degree angle, broke through 45-degree angle over here, back tested 45-degree angle over here, bounced, right? I think it has a good chance of holding this arc over here. I think this is the ABC correction that it needed after this like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a good chance that it probably had bottom over there. No guarantees, okay? Hymns, if you want to ask about hymns, last one I'm going to chart here. Finally back testing horizontal breakout zone, right? Can it go down lower? Yeah, it can, but it doesn't have to. If you look at the, let me see here. It's still a very, very bullish stock. I think I might have to use some linear fib levels here to really kind of give me a little bit more idea in terms of what it's doing. I think it's okay to buy at the 1.414, which is where it's currently at. It's even better if it goes down to like the 1.272, $31. I think like Tim, Stop Patterns Pro, was thinking maybe like 31, 32, right? So the lower it gets, the better risk reward ratio it's going to have. But I mean, if you would bottle it up here in the 70s, where it's way up outside the upper Bollinger Band here, you would have been doing it wrong. But this is still a very, very bullish stock. The Bollinger Band on the lower Bollinger Band is still very much expanded. So the impulse is still very, very strong. So if you're going to buy, I think this is a back test of this horizontal breakout zone. Good area to buy. How much lower could it get? Potentially to 1.272 here. Could it get a lot lower? Sure, but there's no sign that this trend is reversing. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they did lose that, but that's when you have like news narratives coming in, right? And they already knew that was going to happen. But this is still a very bullish trend. So their business model is still okay. Like I'm not going to be that worried about this stock because it's still trying to find a higher low. I don't know if you worry about the fundamentals, then don't be in a stock if you're not sure about the company, right? But the chart's not really showing any major warning sign here. The Ichimoku, it did break. The only big warning sign that I have, is that it's breaking underneath the Tenkan Nikijin, right? That's a little bit of a bigger warning sign here. But this is also potentially just a wick, right? I don't know. The March has only just started. This could just be a wick, right? So I don't know. But if you ask me, like, what would be a good buying zone? Here would be a good buying zone. $31, somewhere around there would be a good buying zone. Still forming higher highs and higher lows. Underneath the Tenkan Nikijin over here, a little bit of warning sign. But it has done that before. HIMS has gotten underneath that before and just kind of pushed up a lot higher. So the bullish band is still very, 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 very much expanding. I don't have a position in HIMS, so I don't know what's the best thing to do. But I don't know why TradingView is like stalling on my bullish band here. But I gotta go. Okay, there you go. Yeah, bullish band is still very fully expanded, so I don't think that there's going to be like necessarily a trend change or anything like that. But I don't have HIMS because I don't. Anyway, that's a different story for a different time. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Bye.